Hi, this is Meina, your crypto friend. Today, I'm thrilled to have Alvin Xu, the co-founder of Maverick Protocol, as my guest. Alvin, welcome to my channel. And do you like to give everybody a brief introduction about yourself as well as Maverick Protocol?
Yeah, my name is Alvin. Been in crypto since 2018. My first full-time role in crypto was building Tron's ecosystem in terms of dApps, wallets, second layer solutions, a little bit of NFT back then as well. So from there, been leading several products down the road, CFI, interest earning, crypto loan, and some of the debit cards. My previous role before Maverick Protocol was leading MetaMask swap product. So basically having around 100 mil daily trading volume for the swap product for the team. Started Maverick with my co-founder Tron since early 2021 and been working on it ever since. So a bit about Maverick Protocol. So Maverick is this next-gen AMM automated market maker. So if you think of Uniswap, Curve, we're basically this next generation of those AMMs. So what Maverick does is it concentrates the liquidity for stakers, but automatically moves concentration of liquidity around. So in this way, achieves high capital efficiency, low slippage, and a lazy LPing experience. Happy to elaborate a bit more in the interview. But yeah.
Yep, that's great. Thank you for coming. And before we kick off the interview, I would like to do a shot first.
Yeah.
But I don't have like a very good whiskey, so
Cheers.
cheers. So I'm actually curious, why did you name it Maverick?
Yeah, so if you think of crypto or stock market, right, it's always like bull market or bear market. But obviously bull is a little bit too overused, right? But Maverick is kind of like a bull, like a small bull that is, like very rebellion. The mission of Maverick is basically to disrupt a lot of the business in Wall Street to make, market making whack me, right? Make it, we all gonna make it kind of style. So it fits the mission pretty well in rebellion, bull market. So we think it's gonna be a pretty awesome name. Yeah.
So it is basically a demonstration of the rebellions towards Wall Street eventually.
Disruption in a way, yeah.
And did you come up the name by yourself or together with your co-founder?
No, my co-founder got it.
Oh,
So, yeah.
okay. And you just like support it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Before we get into like other non-technical questions, I would like to hear more about the new automated liquidity placement technology. I heard that's a really big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of like a long story, but I'm just going to bore you guys for sort of where it started and where is it now, and what are some sort of the pain points we're addressing. So DeFi pretty much started around the DeFi summer, or exploded around the DeFi summer, where Uniswap introduced this Uniswap V2 model. It's basically XY equals K model, where it's a very sort of straightforward, innovative way to automatically market making for orders. So in this case, like X and Y, it could be like Ethereum and USDC, and equals to a fixed amount, which is K. So it was great because basically anyone like you and me, we can stake our capital, we can park our capital on Uniswap, and then we can basically lazy LPing without managing our positions. So in this case, you enjoy a certain amount of APY in return. But the problem is very obvious as well. Basically, it has a really high slippage. It's a very known problem in XYK model. It's not capital efficient. So basically, for a lot of the trading pairs, you inherently have a lot of slippage. Basically, for example, a trading pair, you are buying this much crypto, but by buying it, you automatically lose a certain percentage without any trading activity. So it's not obviously not ideal. It is not comparable with. It's not ideal, and it's not that great compared to sort of centralized market makers out there.
So you mentioned about the Uniswap's like V2, but I also heard they have like V3, which is the concentrated liquidity. So how does like Maverick differ from that, or what is the actual advantage of Maverick protocol over the Uniswap V3?
Yep. So Uniswap V3 is great because the great sort of breakthrough is that it concentrates the liquidity for users. So for this amount of liquidity, it concentrates basically. Like you can choose, like for example, what price you want to concentrate your liquidity to stake. So in this case, you have a pretty high capital efficiency because not like XYK, the liquidity literally like spread around the whole spectrum of the price. So in this case, it concentrates around like different prices. So that's great, right? It's great for traders because slippage is super low and basically it's very usable tool. It's very usable tool for traders to trade on, but it's not great for stakers, right? So if you look at all the stakers now on Uniswap V3, probably around like 1% of them are profitable. 99% of them are not making any money. And the reason is because you have to place your liquidity at the right price tick, at the right price amount. Otherwise, you wouldn't get any transaction fee as a reward. So it's kind of like a zero-sum game. People are competing for that price tick. It's kind of like not for like your average lazy LPs. And we think AMM is revolutionary because unlike traditional stock market where you have centralized AMM market maker like Citadel, like jump trading, they're making like hundreds of billions every year profit just by providing this liquidity. But for decentralized exchange or decentralized applications, the beauty of it is you basically pass the profit for like Citadel in the traditional world to average users like you and me. So by parking our capital on the decentralized exchange, you can have a certain amount of return annually. So that's the beauty of it. But Uniswap V3 sort of kills that opportunity. So unfortunately, when Uniswap V3 gets more and more popular nowadays, it's just way less opportunities for people to make a passive profit by liquidity providing.
I understand. So is it fair to say that Uniswap V3 is more for professional users or institutions like small companies who specialize in parking those liquidities, like according to those different specific parameters, but versus Maverick protocol is more for like an average user who just want to enjoy a passive income, easy to use, right?
I would say yes and no. So for Uniswap V3, you are correct, is for institutions, professional traders, because I think just to provide more context to it, not only you have to position your liquidity right, you basically have to hedge your positions just in case you get this huge impermanent loss or other sort of just-in-time attack. But for Maverick, what it does is that for people, you and me, we don't have to have like savvy financial knowledge to be able to make a profit out of it. But also for institutions, when we talk to jump trading, Wintermute, even some of the TVL aggregators, they complain a lot for V3 because it's very high maintenance. You have to be on it 24/7. But for us, we do think there's a huge market even for institutions to park their capital on us to gain a passive profit.
So what will be the major difference between the institution user and the individual user on Maverick protocol?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think there will be a lot of difference. It's just institution in general, they have more capital to deploy, and retail users, probably per user capital wise is less, but we don't think there's a huge persona difference between those on us.
So that means you guys wouldn't give any specific advantage when people park more liquidity or stake more money onto your protocol. So
there is a fair advantage. It's kind of like you split the transaction fee pro rata, right? Depends on how much you have for that pool. What is the percentage of that pool? And then from there, all the transaction fees made from the pool, it passed to you, right? It's kind of like pro rata. But except for that, there's really no knowledge kind of advantage between
understand.
institution and users.
Yeah, that's very cool. I think essentially you say you will be you're actually focusing the experience on the C customers, not the B customers.
Yeah, so it's very easy to use. We call it lazy liquidity providing for a reason. Yeah.
So since you mentioned the largest competitor for Maverick Protocol is Uniswap V3, and in what way do you think Maverick will be competing with Uniswap's V3, and what advantage will it have?
Yeah, I think several perspectives we have our edge over Uniswap V3. First one is around newer markets. So on V3 is kind of like a order book model where it's pretty challenging to spin up a new market, like a new coin, for example. So you have to have certain liquidity concentrated for the new coin, but then because a lot of new coins are very volatile, so they move the price a lot, so you basically have to spread liquidity out as well. So it's kind of not capital efficient for V3, where it's hard to spin up a new market for V3. But for Maverick, because it moves the liquidity automatically, or the concentration of liquidity automatically, so it's actually a really easy lazy way and easy way to spin up a new crypto market or crypto chain pair.
So you're talking about still the ease of usage for Maverick Protocol over Uniswap V3.
Or think of a scenario where there's a new coin just released, right? How do you spin up a new market, a DEX market for a new coin? For Maverick, entry level is lower. You don't need a lot of the TVL to spin up a new market. But for V3, you may need a lot of TVL in different places just because the price could be a little bit volatile for newer coins. So that's definitely one of the edges we have over V3.
Will you say that Maverick Protocol will be a better choice for the projects, like you mentioned, doesn't have a very strong fund for market making?
Hope so, yeah. That's the goal.
That also encourages a lot of those fraud projects.
I mean, so define a fraud project, right? So DeFi is permissionless, right? So anyone can spin up any market if they want. So so we provide the technology, and any people can issue their own coin, theoretically speaking. So that's basically DeFi.
So it's a user's judgment to judge which coin is the best to invest in or purchase or stake.
Yeah, it's all permissionless.
I know you personally value a lot, or you talk about how user experience is important for your protocol. So can you name the major difference between Maverick Protocol and other DEX right now? Yeah,
we are investing a lot of time on the UI UX for Maverick, and we're having our V2 of the swap spot market for Maverick Protocol, where we do think about user experience. We did a lot of sort of Web2 approach around user surveys, or define our power user persona and whatnot. We did a lot of practice over there in hope that the user experience can be intuitive, as intuitive as possible compared to other DeFi projects nowadays, because it's DeFi is not very current DeFi UI UX is not very intuitive, compared to Coinbase or Robinhood, right? So it's our goal to make the UI UX as great as possible. Yeah.
What personas have you defined for your protocol, for the UI UX experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for the trader side, it's more around retail users, because institutions still be just using our API instead of the actual user interface. So it'll be more Robinhood or Coinbase kind of trading experience in that case. And for the staking side, or I would say staking side is a little bit of both, right? You have institutions and retail users stake, so you have to speak the language, make it as intuitive as possible without overwhelming users with all the information, but also make sure when they want to find those informations, they can find it on the UI. So that's sort of the goal on the staking side. In terms of deploying a new pool, we are more focusing on institution or sort of like experienced users who know how to parameterize the pool, parameters, right? The width, the trading fee, and whatnot. So that is more to say to institution-ish.
I'm very glad that like you shared all your thoughts about the personas design as well as focusing so much on the UI UX experience, and I hope that will contribute a lot to your success, your project success, when attracting new users in the future and retaining them in the long term.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what inspired you and your co-founder to co-found Maverick initially.
So it was kind of around that experience when I was working in MetaMask. For one thing, I realized how powerful DeFi was. So we're moving around 100 million USD equivalent volume per day, just on that platform. And the deeper I realized what's behind the scene, the more I believe DeFi is getting very centralized. So back then, we were working with probably the number 2, number 3 gas payers on Ethereum of all times. So you can imagine how centralized they are in terms of moving volume around. And V3 got really popular, and I've tried on V3. I couldn't really make a good profit of it, and that's when I realized DeFi is just not very like me anymore, and it's time to sort of make DeFi great again.
And then how did you meet with your co-founder?
Yeah, so we were roommates way back when I was in San Francisco Bay Area. So we've been knowing each other for a while.
And after San Francisco, you moved directly to New York City.
Yeah, so that was interesting because I moved basically because we wanted to hire more people from Wall Street, but then after talking to several people, including sort of part-time advisor, Wall Street people, we realized the key of the business, the key of Maverick Protocol is on the algorithm side instead of on the financial knowledge side. So we ended up focusing more on researching PhDs. So right now we have 5 PhDs on the team to build the algorithm of Maverick's AMM.
You didn't end up hiring any Wall Street guys for Maverick Protocol.
I have some good friends, we chat from time to time, giving advices, but I think we're more focusing on the algorithm itself.
But you just talk about Maverick Protocol is like a rebellion to Wall Street. So when you talk to your Wall Street friends, what did they say? Were they very supportive of the idea, or were they like very optimistic about Maverick Protocol?
Yeah, so it's actually interesting. So before moving to New York, I wouldn't imagine crypto is pretty huge in New York, but after moving here, I've been talking to friends, making some interesting friends from Wall Street. Some of them are managing directors or global leads of some of the largest firms. I then realized, they are very bullish on crypto and its technology of crypto, specifically DeFi to revolutionize crypto's sort of order book model, just because the order book model is very like manual or labor intensive, where if you can do like automated market making, is going to be pretty revolutionary in many cases. So the overall reaction or the overall sort of comments are pretty positive on DeFi.
Have they ever expressed the fact that they might want to join Maverick Protocol in the future? Yeah,
for sure. So I think a lot of them are. At current stage, we're building this sort of layer 0 of the DeFi money Lego. So after the AMM is built and battle tested, on the mainnet, which is coming very soon, we will in a much better position to hire more people to build more financial tools on top of the AMM, which we can talk more later in terms of the next roadmaps.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that. So now you have mentioned, before we talk about your next steps for Maverick Protocol, maybe let's talk about the critical milestones for Maverick Protocol in the past, just briefly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think a lot. So we raised 2 rounds previously. The first round was sort of around the proof of idea, to see like if the idea is going to work with the market, especially on the private market side. And first round was led by Jump Trading, one of the largest market makers in the world. So it was a pretty good sort of validation of the team, the idea. The second round, we finished late end of last year, 2021. It was sort of led by Pantera, with some interesting players like Gemini, the exchange based in New York, and Circle, based in Boston and New York, and some of the trading firms or traditional PE firms. So it's been an interesting journey on the sort of fundraising side, but I think most importantly are on the product breakthrough side. So we had the idea to have like a automatically native moving AMM, and then from that idea sort of built things through very sophisticated mathematical algorithms, and when we tested, those are like the milestones. We realized they work really well from those back testings. So just to give you a little bit more idea, we tested through different pairs. We're looking at BTC or WBTC in this case against USD, ETH against USD, some of the sort of meme coin like Dogecoin, but like sort of Dogecoin is not on ERC20, but basically Dogecoin related meme coin, and also stable coin wise, right? So for every basically use case, we're extremely capital efficient compared to Uniswap V2 on most of the market conditions. So in a fair market condition where, especially like Ethereum, mainnet, a lot of the aggregators like 0x, 1inch, they route orders to the best pricing. In those sort of fair environment, we can pretty much get a lot of orders. So those are definitely the moments where we get a lot of the sort of tractions from or like positive feedback from our investors who've seen all the projects basically, and they think it's going to be pretty great in terms of the performance of the AMM. So that's sort of what's happening recently. So the next big thing will be launching on mainnet, and just getting things ready, get the code audited and whatnot. But yeah.
Congratulations on so much achievements, and I think it is really a big deal for the AMM.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cool. So actually, I'm curious, like, who do you think will be your biggest competitor, or like what battlefield is Maverick Protocol really in?
So biggest competitor will be Uniswap V3, hands down. It's challenging because Uniswap V3, or the whole Uniswap has been there for longest time, and they historically have a lot of TVL, total value locked. So the more TVL you have, basically means you can have like a better sort of pricing compared to lower TVL AMMs. It's just the nature of the business. So it's hard to say like, oh, like we're gonna get all the orders from Uniswap V3 without like achieving a scale of TVL. So as of today, the price is tanking for crypto. So that sort of is interesting for us because now we can have more, for example, Ethereum TVL at a lower price if we purchase them through a stablecoin. So which is kind of good for our mainnet launch. Yeah. So to answer your question, mainly through against Uniswap V3 because it's having a lot of the volumes. But what's really interesting we found recently, if you look at a lot of the trading pairs for Uniswap V3, it's concentrated, but it's not super concentrated. Let's say it's sort of 20 to 30% TVL are concentrated around the price tick, which we call it more like efficient TVL. You can put it to use. You can generate more like depth to facilitate trades. But other TVLs are more like spread it out. They're inefficient TVLs. They're not being used. But for our algorithm, we could say, a lot of the concentrations are more than like 40%. So which effectively is actually more, I would say, a little bit better than Uniswap in terms of the placement of liquidity. So that's pretty interesting as well.
So is it fair to say that you will be expecting a certain amount or a decent amount of shift of the TVL from Uniswap v3 directly to Maverick Protocol when you launch on the mainnet?
We try it, right? So it really depends on all kinds of scenarios, market conditions as well. But we have a pretty novel tokenomics coming up as well. So the main gist of the tokenomics is to have TVL being more sticky to the platform instead of like a mercenary TVL, just like hit and run to the next protocol, which we don't want. So from that perspective, we encourage locking TVLs, and we sort of provide more incentives to those locking TVLs. So hopefully over the time, we can be the most liquid markets, one of the most liquid markets.
Will you be willing to spill a little bit about like your tokenomics, or are you still in the designing process?
It's pretty much done, but we wanted to be saving it for a little bit like later announcements.
Okay. Understandable.
Yeah.
Maybe we can do another talk, like once you have announced your new tokenomics.
Yep.
I'm really excited for that.
Yep.
And now, could you talk a little bit about what is your next 3 months or next 6 months plan roadmap for Maverick Protocol?
Yeah. So like DeFi is pretty hard in terms of code. The code is literally the law. So once you deploy the code, it's pretty hard to make changes. So we want to be extra careful with this whole like mainnet release phase. So that's why we basically split it to two parts. One is more like a sort of like a private mainnet release. We work with some of the largest market makers in the world to implement in their trading engine, so they can start to trade on our AMM. We can see the performance, reliability of the AMM with a certain amount of TVL. So from there, it's more battle tested. We can release the whole full mainnet launch to the whole public users. So that's sort of like the mainnet release. It's definitely exciting, and it's going to happen within the next 3 months. So I think the other thing that's really exciting would be basically have more dApps or other applications or protocols building on top of this AMM, right? So we're looking at some of the DEXs, looking at concentration liquidity play. We're looking at some of the chains who wants to have a capital efficient AMM to sort of bootstrap the the liquidity of that chain or different trading pairs. And we're also looking at perpetual futures. So I think that's a really interesting perspective, because if you look at perpetual futures DAX nowadays, at least VAMM based DAXs, not DYDX, it's more like order book based DAX, but like VAMM based decentralized DAXs, the slippage is super high. So it's kind of like easy to imagine when you're trading on spot swap, slippage is already high for some of the existing AMMs, but when you pull up a 10x leverage or 25x leverage, the slippage is going to be 10x or 25x, which is not very tradable. So it's definitely an interesting direction we're exploring. So basically, to branch out a Maverick VAMM to helping other protocols to build their perpetual future market, to make decentralized perpetual future markets very usable.
Yeah, right now I think most of the future market is still like happening within a lot of like centralized exchanges for sure.
Yeah.
So, but it's good to see like you guys have a decent plan on that. Yeah. And you just talk about you want to collaborate with more different chains. Are you talking to any like notable ones or?
Yeah. Obviously, the priority is to make sure the mainnet launch is as smooth as possible. But yeah, we're being approached by several layer 2s, alternative layer 1s.
Cool. And then I was suppose you're gonna make a lot of like announcement during the next 3 to 6 months about all those different chains or deployment.
Yep. So that's within the roadmap.
And now, let's put aside maybe Maverick Protocol. I want to understand a bit of your view about the future of DeFi, because you not only mentioned that the recent market breakdown, like it's going down for all of the coins, Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins. What do you think this market change gonna impact, not only for Maverick Protocol, but also like for other projects or average users?
Yeah, so been through probably like a couple corrections in history. So usually corrections, I would say, I think the most obvious sort of impact is on talent, right? So whenever there's a correction, you see Web3 people are moving back to Web2 for sort of risk tolerance, sort of like lower risk tolerance people. They wanted to move to Web2, but you also know like when people are sticking with Web3, for the past 2 corrections, they're more like a true believer in Web3. So that's definitely a more like obvious impact of the market correction. Except for that, I think it's healthy for the market, right? When you have all kinds of applications or concepts are, sort of being popular in the market for like very few or very minimal utility, that's not healthy necessarily, right? So we want the market to be healthy in the long run. So correction is definitely much needed, I think.
Did you do anything specifically for the correction? Because I think everyone in the market is expecting the correction to happen. It's just we don't know when exactly will happen. But now, since we come to the stage, it happened. So did you do anything beforehand to prepare for it?
Yeah, I mean, not much, right? So hopefully, when it comes to price, it can, not me, but like overall treasury management, we can probably get some of the Ethereum and BTC.
And in terms of like funding wise for the team, right? Do you plan to raise another round, or do you think right now those 2 rounds are sufficient fund for the team development or product development?
Yeah, so I think the funding we have is pretty good and provides a pretty healthy runway. But if we were ever to raise, it's going to be more strategic around, around like traditional Wall Street investors or firms to sort of collaborate down the road.
Why do you have that preference for the traditional Wall Street investors?
Yeah, so if you look at DeFi, it's been on the slower side since the DeFi summer, right? You always have, new tokenomics, new players, but the overall, I would say, TVL didn't change much recently. So in order for DeFi to grow, in order for DeFi to compete with TradFi players, you need institutions to come in to the field, whether on the TVL side or like trading side. So you can really get a technology battle tested and get things ready to sort of compete with TradFi use cases.
To summarize, it's just to form a more solid support for the project.
For the market, right? For the market. So you need new capital to inject in DeFi, just like any market, basically. Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So another interesting topic that I want to talk about is, and probably a lot of the users and the current audience, they are also very curious, is there have been a lot of cybersecurity breaches in the crypto industry. For example, the Ronin network has reported a loss of 614 million by theft in March 2022. Xfinity suffered from a hack of 600 million theft in April 2022. Those thefts often left users shocked and terrified, resulting in the loss loss of confidence in projects and protocols in the long term. And we all know that those projects, for example, X Infinity, they have a tremendous number of users. So can you please share a little bit about your own opinions about the hacks and how it's like impacting not only the users but also the project?
Yeah, so elephant in the room. Obviously, it's a very controversial topic, but as the founder of the project, we're super aware of the significance of attacks or hacks from day one when we're building the product. So we wanted to provide as much code coverage as possible from the day one we built a Maverick protocol, and also a couple of my co-founder and our CTO comes from a security background. They used to work with NSA for some of the national level security projects. So that's more on the prevention side. So as we we're concluding the code and ready to launch on mainnet, our goal is to have 4 or 5 security audits before the actual full mainnet launch. Mm-hmm. So looking at the first audit by a blue chip company, second by a more, I would say, research-based auditing company with great auditing reports. We've talked with numbers like tens of security companies, and we basically selected the current ones. And the third one is a more of a trading firm. So they look at the code themselves to make sure it's it's safe on their side by future TBL contribution or trading kind of activities. The fourth is another auditing firm that audited Uniswap V3, so they have a lot of experience in the AMM field. And the fifth is going to be another trading firm, one of the major trading firms. Mm-hmm. So that's on the security audits level. So we want to touch base on different perspectives for the testing, fuzzing and logic-based tests. So we have a full-time PhD from mathematics field, just to sort of gaming the system from the logic level for the past couple months. Be focusing on this as well. Mm. So we're trying super hard on the auditing level. Except for that, I think we're constantly working with newer projects and founders who are more on the monitoring side of the crypto, right? So basically, they wanted to build something like, what's called McAfee of crypto, basically see the health of the protocol and give out monitors notifications when things are looking abnormal. So we are constantly working with them as well. So hopefully with all these and our native understanding about our own AMM that we built from scratch, we can eliminate those risks of hackings.
Yeah. So I assume the reason why you choose so many different companies or institutions or different parties to do the audits is you have to believe that all those different parties, they will have a different angle or they will supplement each other in terms of the auditing process. So essentially it will be a very complete auditing process that will avoid or minimize the security risk.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to be responsible for our users. Definitely, I think that's one of the basic, sort of the basic commitment of a good project, especially on DeFi. But like you mentioned, different security auditing firms has their own sort of focus, right? Some of them are more sort of traditional smart contract based, right? They look at your smart contract. Some of them are more mathematic based. They actually understand the logic of your AMM, and then they try to game your AMM from different levels. Either random numbers, entry or whatnot. And some of them are more on the trading side or staking side. They are more familiar with previous attacks that happened, right? Mm-hmm. They basically know a lot of the patterns. They basically apply your AMM's code to their past experience to sort of to see if there's any potential risks or bugs out there. So it's just very different kind of nature of security auditing firms.
Yeah, understandable. And I do think there will always be room for the improvement in terms of how to prevent those frauds or prevent those thefts from a technical perspective. But I think a lot of us are even doubting on whether it's the actual project founders or the team member itself that are doing. They have planned those kind of hacks and thefts.
I can't comment on previous hacks, but definitely I think you want to be more responsible of the core team member you're hiring, right? It should be more like fairly familiar with each other or with good tracking record, references, so that you can eliminate this kind of like backdoor risk. Yeah.
So I guess for Maverick Protocol, you think hiring and trust in the core team members is the most important?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of unfortunate, but nowadays you have people reach out to you for Solidity software engineers. A lot of them are actually fraud, profiles on LinkedIn or resumes. That's really tricky. So those are definitely the risks. If you hire people you haven't done a lot of due diligence on, there's definitely risk over there. So gotta be careful over there.
Due diligence is always the key for every single process when building a project.
Yep.
So I think I have now already a lot about Maverick Protocol as well as your team, your future vision about it. Now, before we wrap up our conversation today, I would like to add a little bit personal touch on this interview. Do you have any fun fact about yourself that you want to share with our audience?
Not a very fun person, but I do like to get on a road trip from time to time to clear my mind. So I found it more of those creative sort of thought process over there. So yeah.
Is there any specific sites or places that you always go for your road trips?
So back in California, it's just more around SoCal to NorCal, like I-5, right? So San Francisco to LA. It was I felt like it was perfect amount of time. It was 5.5 hours ish, not too exhausting as well. And but yeah, that's more.
Will you drive alone, or will you share the ride with a friend when you do the road trip?
Yeah, it's usually with friends. It's a little bit better, but I can drive by myself too.
And do you drive really fast, or do you more enjoy the sights during your road trips?
Within a speed limit, yeah.
Okay, this is not like a legal talk show, so you can speak for the truth.
Yeah, I mean, make it efficient, but still within the limit. Yeah.
Okay, it's pretty hard to stay in the limit in California.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Try my best.
Okay. And I know, Alvin, you have also prepared some gifts for my audience today, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, so we have a really interesting partner. It's called Project Galaxy. So they sort of provide this NFT as a service for projects to sort of reward their early users or community members. So we have our NFTs called Mava. Yeah, happy to extend 5 of the Mava NFTs to some of the viewers of this show.
Yeah, that's very generous of you. And then I will do the raffle afterwards, trying to create an online forum for our users. So please make sure that you subscribe my channel as well as follow my Twitter, and then I will also provide a very detailed instruction about how you will be able to earn one of those 5 NFTs that's generously provided by Maverick Protocol.
Yeah, I think you may wonder what is the utility for NFT. So we haven't finalized yet, but we do have pretty interesting plans with NFT in the future. So it's kind of like a proof of your participants or your commitment. So we'll be having some interesting initiatives down the road.
So I'm pretty sure there will be airdrops. You don't have to say
sure.
a 100%, but
yeah, probably something more fun.
Something more fun?
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alvin, for your time today. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative having like podcasts around crypto. I do hope you have a lot of tractions, and for crypto, founders, crypto community people, please stay in tune. With the program, I do think it's a great way to sort of share what we're thinking and what we're doing, and to stay in touch.
Thank you for the nice words and cheers
Cheers.
to our success.
Cheers.